everyone, my name is Manal Al-Faiz and you're watching From Scratch. On today's episode of From Scratch, we're making salad dressings. We're making 3 different salad dressings for today. We're starting off with a Caesar salad dressing, then we're moving on to a balsamic dressing and ending off the day with a ranch dressing. To start off, I must add that your Caesar salad dressing or any dressing in general needs to be added or dress the salad towards the end once you're ready to eat. And that's very important to keep in mind because that's going to be the sequence of today. We're only going to dress the salads towards the end. That's going to help keep the salad nice and fresh. For today's recipe of Caesar salad, what you're going to need is some olive oil towards the end. We're gonna need some eggs, some anchovies, garlic cloves, bit of salt if needed, some lemon juice, some Parmesan, and some black pepper. So what you're gonna need for this recipe is a very good blender. You could do this by hand, but I usually like to cut down on time by using a blender. And what you're gonna start off by doing is you're gonna take your eggs, put them right into your blender, add in the 2 pieces of garlic cloves and those anchovies. We're gonna get the machine going, let it blend, and then we're gonna add in half of the amount of lemon juice that we have, and we're slowly going to drizzle in the olive oil. I am going to add in half of the lemon juice as said. Just half. It's important not to add it all in just because it might produce a very watered down dressing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this attachment and just add in some black pepper. I usually like a good amount of black pepper, so this is solely depending on your taste. Whether or not you want to add a good amount or even remove it completely, that's solely up to you. I'm going to only add in a small pinch of salt towards the end, only if needed. That's only because anchovies carry a lot of saltiness in them. So you don't want to over salt it, you're only going to add it towards the end if needed. So what I'm going to do, meanwhile having my mixer on or my blender on, I'm going to slowly drizzle in the whole amount of olive oil. Actually, you need to assess whether or not you need all of the amount. This needs to happen while on full speed. So I'm just checking that everything looks nice and emulsified. It looks quite good. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually going to add in our Parmesan cheese and give that a quick blend. You don't wanna break down all of those Parmesan cheese strands. You want there to be some sort of texture. So what I'm gonna do is just give it a quick blend. What I'm gonna do right now is assess whether or not more salt is needed. Texture looks perfect. It coats my spatula. It's not too thick and not too thin. So what I'm gonna do right now is set this aside and work on our next dressing. All right, so for our next dressing that we're gonna make from scratch is going to be a balsamic dressing. For that, what you're gonna need is some olive oil, some honey, some good quality balsamic vinegar, mayonnaise, a bit of black pepper and salt, 1 piece of egg yolk, 1 garlic clove, and some Dijon mustard. So to do so, what you're gonna need is just take a blender once again. Blender is very important for an emulsified vinaigrette. So what you wanna opt for is a blender and no other equipment. We're just going to empty out all of the ingredients except for our olive oil. So I have my honey in there. I'm going in with my balsamic vinegar, some mayonnaise, so mayonnaise is not only there for flavor, it's also there for keeping the vinaigrette nice and creamy. So we're gonna add in just a good crack of black pepper, an initial small pinch of salt, the egg yolk goes right in, that 1 piece of garlic clove, and the very last component before the olive oil, which is our Dijon mustard. I'm gonna get that nice and blended up. While it keeps on going on a very high speed, I'm going to gradually stream in the full amount of our good quality olive oil. So I only switch off my machine once I make sure that all of that olive oil has completely emulsified together to make my vinaigrette. What I have is the completed vinaigrette of our balsamic vinaigrette. What I'm gonna do is set this aside, set it in the bowl, and work on our final dressing of the day, which is going to be our ranch dressing. We're on our very final salad dressing for the day, and for that what we're gonna need are some dried herbs. We've got some dried dill and some dried parsley. We've got some onion powder and garlic powder, some salt, sour cream, mayonnaise, black pepper, and some fresh herbs. We've got some dill, some thyme, and some chives. So what I'm gonna do, first of all, before starting to mix all of the ingredients, is chop up the herbs and set them in the bowl. So the very last dressing, which is our ranch dressing, is actually going to be served as a dipping sauce rather than in a salad. But to work on the salad greens, we need to have all our dressings ready to be mixed together with our dressing. So just gonna go ahead with chopping that very thinly. So very sharp knife is key when chopping up herbs. Herbs are very delicate. They do tend to turn black if they are chopped quite a lot, or if all of the juices from the herbs have been smushed down. So you want to opt for a very sharp knife. You want to get that onion flavor coming through quite a lot. What I'm going to go ahead with chopping next is our dill. So I'm just going to grab some scissors and grab a good amount of dill. So it's really nice to have that balance of dried and fresh herbs. Fresh herbs is obviously going to bring in a lot of freshness into the dressing, and the dried will pack quite a lot of flavor in them. So we're just going to bunch these up and then cut through them very quickly. The last herb that we're going to prep is our dried thyme. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of leaves from here, or sprigs. And what we're going to do is actually not use our knife anymore and just pick these with our fingers, just like so. So you're going against the leaves, just like so. So I have my thyme leaves already removed from the stems. What I'm going to do is just chop them very quickly, just once, just to kind of release those flavors and transfer them to our bowl. What's left to do is mix up all the rest of the ingredients. So we've got our dried herbs right here. We've got a mix of onion and garlic powder. Just a small pinch of salt, 2 pinches of salt. We've got some sour cream. And our mayonnaise. The last component is a nice crack of black pepper. Give that a nice mix, making sure everything is completely mixed together very well. And we can set this aside and work on chopping up our salad greens, and then we're going to be ready to mix everything together and serve. So everything is nice and mixed through together. Looks nice and bright green in color. We're going to cover this up, set it in the chiller, work on chopping up our greens, and then we're going to be ready to toss everything together and serve. So we have all of our greens ready to be chopped up all together. We have 3 different salads and dips that we're making. So just keep in mind that this green right here, which is a romaine lettuce, is going to be used for our Caesar salad. We've got some vegetables that we're going to cut up into matchsticks. We've got carrots and celery. We're going to cut them up into matchsticks to make something called a crudité. We've got Lolo Rosso leaves over here to finish off our balsamic vinaigrette salad. It's going to be called a farmer salad. We're going to pair this together with some radishes and tomatoes. For our farmer salad, what we're going to do is take one of the carrots that are over here, shave them up, put them in a very cold ice water bath. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and start. So whenever you're chopping up lettuce specifically for a Caesar salad, what you wanna do is follow this technique. Usually lettuce has leaves that are almost dying. towards the tip of them. So what you want to do is cut that off and completely get rid of it. You don't want that in your salad. And then next, to get those square-ish shapes, what you want to do is kind of give it a nice cut right through the middle. You want to visually kind of ensure that you get nice squares at the end. So you want to make sure you got that by just giving a slice through. And now I'm sure I've got those nice squares. I'm going to go ahead and chop those up. Depending on your liking, you want to have a bigger piece of lettuce, then make those cuts a bit bigger. So you don't want to cut this part. This part is a bit too fibrous, so you don't want that to be in your salad. I'm just going to go ahead and toss that out. I'm going to transfer this to our plate right here, which is actually going to go under a cold wash to make sure we got any sort of dirt, any unwanted particles away from our lettuce. So I'm just going to set that aside, and we're going to finish up our vegetable cutting process. We're moving on to our second lettuce, which is called Lolo Rosso. We're gonna do kind of the same, except I want to have bigger leaves of lettuce at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and do kind of the same cuts. And we're going ahead with cutting that right through. Make sure to get rid of the very bottom. It's very fibrous. So again, similar to our romaine, which is going to be used for our Caesar salad, what you want to make sure of is to wash those leaves very thoroughly. Don't wash them ahead of time, wash them only after you've chopped them up. And this way you'll ensure to get through all of those leaves. For our farmer salad, which we're going to use the balsamic vinaigrette to dress it, we're going to need some radishes, which I'm going to pass through my mandolin over here. This is a super sharp tool, so be very careful if you do have this at home. Just make sure you've got that thickness down. You want it to be halfway between too thin and a good thickness. So basically what you want to do is make sure you've got your finger through, and if you can see through your finger, then that means you've got the thickness down. So just going to transfer all of these nice slices into my ice bath right here. So in the ice bath, what's going to happen is they're going to really crisp up very nicely and stay fresh for longer. For our farmer salad, what we're also gonna need is some shaved carrot pieces. So if you do have this peeler right here, it works perfectly. So what you wanna do is just go through and shave a couple of pieces. And then put them into a very cold ice bath. Also, for our farmer salad, what we're gonna need are some cherry tomatoes. And for that, what we're gonna simply do is just cut them in half. I really do like cutting my tomatoes in half this way, rather than identifying where the stem is and cutting it from there. So the difference between them is very little, but it looks very different. So this looks very pretty, and then this just doesn't show the insides as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them the same way I just said. The last thing that's left to do is to pair up our ranch dressing with some crudités. And to chop up your crudités, what you're gonna do is grab some celery and give that nice top and tail. So you wanna create some sort of matchstick shape. So let's say we could divide this into 3 even pieces. And then this is just gonna get a quick cut down the half. And then these are very easy to dip right into your dressing, which is going to be our ranch dressing, and eat that. And we're gonna do the same with our carrots. So top and tail the carrots. Keep in mind that these carrots are peeled. Keeping that flesh will add a lot of bitterness, so you really don't want that. So I'm just going to cut this right through the middle and then cut it in half. And then what's left to do is divide these evenly into 3 cuts. So angle your knife when you cut this so you get a nice and even cut. So you could add as many vegetables as you want. I do have some radishes over here. So what I'm gonna do is chop these into quarters and we could add that to our finalized dish. So all of our vegetables are prepped. What I'm going to do is give my lettuces a quick wash. What's left to do is finally cook chicken for our Caesar salad. So right after the break, I'll show you guys a very easy tip to properly sear your chicken. Properly sear chicken, what you need to make sure of is that your chicken is completely dry. So that's very important. There's no need to wash your chicken. All you want to do is remove your chicken from whatever packaging it comes in, pat it dry very thoroughly, and then you're ready to sear. So what I'm going to do is preheat my pan over here. What I'm going to do is get this to a nice hot temperature, and I'm not going to season it anytime soon. I'm only going to season it once I'm ready to lower it down into our pan. So once this gets nice and hot, I'm going to add in the olive oil, which is right about now. And then I'm going to reheat our pan once again, making sure that oil has heated up as well. I am ready to lower down my chicken. What I'm going to do is season it with just a touch of salt, only on one side. And I am not going to add black pepper right now. I'm only going to add it towards the end. So I'm grabbing the seasoned side of chicken and I'm lowering it down away from me and not towards me. So you don't want to move around your chicken. Let it get a nice golden sear. What you can do is slightly, and not so aggressively, push it down towards the middle. And that's just because sometimes when your chicken sears, it creates kind of like a tension, and then in the middle you don't get a nice even sear. So what you want to do is gently push it down the middle. Once I'm ready to flip over to the other side, I'm going to season it while it's in the pan. So this side, the side that is facing me, is still not seasoned yet. So what you're gonna do is season in the pan. And the reason for this is just because salt draws out a lot of moisture, and moisture will disrupt the searing process. So you wanna do your best with having it moisture-free to get a nice golden sear. All right, so my chicken is ready to be flipped over to the other side. What I'm gonna do is season the other side of the chicken. And then actually, I'm going to hold off from adding the black pepper. I'm only going to add it once it's ready to come out of the pan. So again, flip it over away from you and not towards you. And you get a very beautiful crust that is nice and golden brown. The more you let it sit on its side without disrupting it and moving it around, the better. So we're just going to keep this going for around, let's say 5 more minutes. You don't want to go on too high of a temperature because that might burn the chicken. So we're going to keep it around 5 more minutes on the other side, and then we're ready to rest it and slice it right through. So we're ready to switch off our stovetop. What I'm gonna do is give it a nice crack of black pepper, and then set it aside to rest. So you want to rest it for how long you cooked your chicken for. So we've been cooking it for around, let's say 6 to 7, even 8 minutes. We want to rest it for 8 full minutes. So I'm gonna let that happen, and then we're gonna slice through, and then we're ready to plate everything together. So what's finally left to do is slice up our chicken, ready to be served together with our Caesar salad. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. My chicken has been rested for the same time that I have cooked it for. So I'm just gonna go through and slice that up. Get it ready to serve. Right, so I'll just set this aside, ready to be served on top of our Caesar salad. So we're working on our Caesar salad first. What I have ready is my Caesar dressing right over here. I'm just going to put enough to dress my salad. I'm going to season it one last time with some salt and pepper, and we're going to garnish with our breadcrumbs right here, as well as some Parmesan cheese. So let's go right ahead with adding a really good amount of Caesar dressing with our romaine leaves that we have chopped up. Mix that through. Add a pinch of salt and some black pepper. Good amount of black pepper. What I'm gonna do is add just a little bit of Parmesan for now. We're also gonna use a little bit later on as well. Gonna grab my serving bowl. And plate it right up. So we're just gonna set this aside. Garnish one more time with some Parmesan cheese. Add your breadcrumbs, and these breadcrumbs are actually made with a base of brioche bread, my favorite. All right, we're gonna set this aside and finalize with our cooked chicken. Just gonna grab it right over here, put it right over the top. Spread it out to kind of hug your salad. And here is our Caesar salad ready to serve. What we're gonna work on next is our farmer salad, which is going to be paired together with our balsamic dressing, which is right over here. For that, what you're gonna need is your lolo rosso, which is thoroughly washed and dried. What we're gonna do is, again, grab a good amount of that dressing. You could always exchange the vinegar type and use any type of vinegar and call it that. We got this thoroughly mixed through. What we're gonna do is add a pinch of salt, some black pepper. Get that nice and mixed through. And what I like to do is keep my greens without any sort of dressing on top because I want all of those colors to kind of shine through, but it's solely up to your preference. If you don't want to dress them together with your greens, you could go ahead with doing that. So what I'm gonna do is just transfer this into my bowl. Set this aside for now and garnish with our vegetables that we already cut. So we've got the radishes that were soaked in ice cold water. So please do keep in mind that the ice cold water is going to really firm up those vegetables, make them nice and crispy, and they are going to stay fresh for a very long time. So just putting those all around. Same with the tomatoes. And our carrots, shaved carrots. What I'm going to do is kind of twirl those carrots to create some sort of shape. And there we have our finalized farmer salad that we actually used our balsamic vinaigrette to dress it with. What I'm gonna do is grab the final dish, which is our crudités together with our ranch dressing, and we're ready to serve. And here we have our 3 final dishes made with salad dressings made from scratch. Just to recap, we've got our Caesar salad made with a Caesar salad dressing. We've got our farmer salad that we used a balsamic dressing to dress it with, and we used our ranch dressing as a dipping together with our crudités. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time on From Scratch.